Thank you, and Mazel Tov to Councillor Orod Osanlu for his first speech this evening. The Labour Party have expelled me for speaking at a meeting 3 years ago and for signing a petition almost 2 years ago. These were organised by Labour Against the Witch Hunt, and Labour banned that organisation only 4 months ago. But the Labour Party has applied retrospective punishment against me and many other people. Because what I did at the time was perfectly legitimate. The Labour Party changed the rules after that, only 4 months ago. But I won't lie to you, I am delighted to have been expelled by the Labour Party. I'm free now from the Labour Party's hostile environment, where Jewish people like me are 31 times more likely to be investigated for talking about the racism that we face. I'm free from the fear of disciplinary action for exercising my human rights of freedom of expression and freedom of association to speak and meet with other people. More than 2,000 people of Bromborough, Port Sunlight and New Ferry re-elected me last May for 4 years with 61% of votes, and I will continue to work for this fantastic community as a local independent councillor. I was elected to promote justice and equality, to protect lives and livelihoods, enhance job services and our environment, and to oppose cruel cuts. My values and work have not changed. The Labour Party has changed from the party that I joined in 2015. It's become nasty, toxic and humorless. The leader of the Labour Party writes in the Sun newspaper, re-traumatising bereaved communities most unnecessarily. And we have seen this evening Labour voting with the Tories. This is an unholy alliance, and it's not going to go well for our council, our workforce, nor our communities. Turning to the fair appointment to committees, it would be fair that my amendment is approved. It would appoint me to the Housing Committee and Pensions Committee. Policy committees like Housing, they make decisions and recommendations that directly affect residents of Bromborough, including about the council's budget. There are 66 places on 6 policy committees and 66 councillors elected by Wirral residents. In addition, there's another 15 places on Policy and Resources Committee. So it would only be fair, reasonable and proportionate to appoint an elected councillor to a policy committee if they want to. And why? Why should one councillor out of 66 be singled out for exclusion from any policy committee? Perhaps that would be from nastiness or something else. Thank you.
Can I just confirm, sorry, Pat, that you're seconding this?
Yeah, I am.
Thank you. Debate. We now have a debate on the amendments only and vote before we return to the original motion as amended or otherwise. Do any councillors wish to speak on the amendments? Okay. Steve Foulkes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think it is a little bit, well, very disappointed that another party has involved itself in seconding such a motion. It can only be for mischievous reasons, one would suspect. However, the Labour Party has rules. People should... Sorry, that was a racist remark. Would you like to remove that? Okay, maybe not. Anyway, so the Labour Party has rules, very strong rules, strict rules, and is going through a period of changing the rules. I think it's incumbent on anyone who is elected as a Labour councillor to stick to those rules and not jeopardise their position as an elected member for the Labour Party. And I remember when other members who felt they couldn't stay within the Labour Party moved to an independent status, and colleagues such as Joe Baird were shouting from the rooftops there should be a by-election because you were elected as a Labour councillor and you stand as a Labour councillor. You are not a Labour councillor, you are an independent. So I suggest that you do the right thing, call a by-election, and let's have the people of Bromborough make the decision and elect another Labour councillor or whoever. You may win, I doubt it. And I just want to say, you know, that's the way it is in politics. You conduct yourselves in every manner to try and stay within the Labour Party. That's my motto. Whatever you disagreement with the leadership or whoever, you stay in and you fight for the Labour Party to be a better place. I think it is becoming a better place to be. That's my experience, and it doesn't reflect the scenario that Councillor Bird reflects. So I would ask for a by-election to be called immediately. It's the honourable thing to do.
Councillor Julie McManus.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'm disappointed that Councillor Bird accuses the Labour Party of being racist. As a member of that party, I'm not racist, and I would hope that she'd reconsider that comment. And following on from my colleague, Councillor Foulkes, you were elected as a Labour councillor, Joe, and I would like to see you call a by-election. And let's put it to the vote of the individuals who live in that ward that you currently represent. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Julie. Councillor Stuart Worthington.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'm not going to repeat colleagues' comments regarding the by-election, but I just like to be helpful, because if the Green Party think that Councillor Bird should be on the Housing Committee, maybe they could give up their place rather than asking for the Labour members to give up their place on the Housing Committee. Just a suggestion.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'm not going to stray into the issues internal to the Labour Party. I observe that the Housing Committee meets not as regularly as I would like, but it has a job to do. Councillor Bird has always shown, in my experience and the material I've read that she's put out with colleagues in Eastham and Bromborough areas, a close interest in housing, and that's a close interest in our registered social landlords, and an interest in poor housing conditions. On that basis, I'd ask members to consider what she can bring to the committee and vote about that, and not on personalities or disagreements that have taken place.
Is that it? Okay. Councillor Cleary, you have up to 3 minutes to speak to the amendments.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Well, first of all, I'd echo the last points that were made. That really, as Councillor Bird said, there's 66 councillors, 66 committee places. No councillor should be excluded from the policy of this committee. And as somebody who was excluded from any scrutiny role on policy for 5 years, I think that really conflicts with what we're being asked to do through the external assurance reviews, that councillors work together. I think, you know, we should be acknowledging that, and we should be seeking to use the best of all our talents. And the original proposal tonight doesn't do that. And as Councillor Gilchrist has said, you know, Councillor Bird has played an active role on housing. She sat on housing. Let her continue on housing and make a positive contribution. To suggest that this is a mischievous amendment is insulting, I would say. It's completely inaccurate. It is done out of principle. I would do the same in similar circumstances for any member from any party who is in the same circumstances. I would support their wish to stay on scrutiny and on policy. So it's also, frankly, it's difficult to think of any other institution that would deliberately undermine members. I mean, in an employment situation, this would be grounds for constructive dismissal. So ultimately, as well, it is disrespectful to voters and anti-democratic. That's what it is. And if you would disapprove of this kind of behaviour in an employment setting, can I speak without being... It's very rude. I didn't interrupt any of you guys. Okay. In an employment situation, we would condemn this kind of behaviour. So why do we tolerate it here? I think oh, by the way, congratulations to our new councillor, whose name I've forgotten. Oran Asanlu, yes. My apologies. But he made the same point about, you know, being respectful towards each other. And, you know, you hear some of the comments tonight, and you can actually start to appreciate why Councillor Bird might be delighted to have been expelled from the Labour Party. So this is a positive amendment It should apply across party, the principle. So I would really ask everybody to support this, because similar situations may well crop up in the future, and we should recognise the principle that every councillor has the right to determine the policy of this council and sit on a policy committee. Thank you, Mayor.
Right to reply. Proposal of the original motion, Councillor Williamson. You now have the right to reply and may address the council for up to 3 minutes.
I don't intend to do that, except to say I'm pleased for you, Joe, if you're delighted to have been expelled from the party. I am pleased that you're delighted. And Pat, I think we've given you a solution. You can give up one of your seats if you want.
Okay. There being no further speakers, I will move to the vote on the amendments. All those in favour?
Some comments have been made about me that I'd like to respond to. Thank you.
Yeah. There's no right to respond, Councillor Baird, but there is a right of, if you wish to explain it, Phil.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councillor Bird, there isn't a right of response if anything is said about a councillor, so there isn't that ability to do that. All there is the right of personal explanation, which is where someone has said something that is been mistaken by somebody else. So a factual statement, for example, where someone has misheard them and it's a simple correction. It isn't a right of reply or response.
Thanks. I believe there's been a misunderstanding that I would like to make a personal statement about. It's very short.
I'll allow you, Joe, to make a short, very short reply, please. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, point of order. If that statement refers to any comments or any other members have made in a personal, then we'll all be up all night replying. It's absolute nonsense, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councillors have resigned from the Labour Party in recent years and have been allowed to make personal statements too. And that's right, I did call for them to resign as councillors and call a by-election because they resigned from the party they were elected to represent. But I haven't resigned from Labour. I've stuck to the rules of the Labour Party. They changed the rules and applied them retrospectively. The Labour Party expelled me, and Bromborough residents want me to continue as their independent councillor. Thank you.
Thank you. Right. There being no further speakers, I will move to the vote on the amendment. All those in favour? Easy life, doesn't it? I think. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, I think. 11. Right. All those against?
Got them? Yeah.
Okay. And then the abstentions, please. 2.
Oh, the irony.
Who's that behind Frankie Murder? Yeah. Okay, the results is votes in favour 11, votes against 46, abstentions 2. That is lost. Okay.